my fellow comic book collectors. This is one of my first interviews, and I figured, hey, I did Night Tiger last week, and this week I'm going to be doing Mark Oldroyd, and he's like he's a friend of the channel because we do a show every week together. So I figured, hey, he's got to be, one of the first people I interview. So I wanted to say thank you, Mark, for coming on my show. Yeah, and I'm hoping that this is going to be something that grows where I get, I'm working my way up to like Todd McFarlane. So it's like it goes Night Tiger.
So
Mark,
me
Oldroyd,
and Night Tiger are right at the bottom of the ladder, and
I'm climbing.
Tom McFarlane is at the top. So I
Yeah.
just want to get my position clear. Okay.
Yeah, it's maybe even below that. I'm not sure, but so yeah, so I have some questions for you. I'm keeping it to a very simple number of questions. So the first question is, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into collecting comics.
Okay, so I'm I'm retired again. I did retire about 2-3 years ago, but I've been recently working for the last 3 months. But that stopped last Friday, so I'm back to being retired again. I have a number of hobbies that all begin with C: cooking, cricket, and collecting comics. So, and I've done collecting comics for. Well, I started collecting comics in my hometown, which is in Yorkshire. There was a couple of market stalls you could go to, and there would be second-hand comics on the stalls that would be selling literally for pennies. I used to take my pocket money. I used to get I didn't get very much pocket money. I probably got 5 or 10 pence a week. But with that, I could go and buy some really rough-looking second-hand copies of American.
Those are always the best. They're the best.
And so I kept doing that. And then what happened? I went to school. It's a public school in England, down south, because I was living in Yorkshire, and they went down south. And to get to the school, I had to go across London. And I spotted that in London there were some there was a specialist comic shop at the time called Dark They Were and Golden Eyed. And I spotted some of the comics that I was buying for a few pennies at a market stall in Yorkshire, you could sell for a few pounds. And remember,
that's a really great return on investment.
Well, yeah, my pocket money was 10 pence a week. And if I could buy a comic for 5 pennies and sell it for £1, that was like mega bucks. So I would do that. During the holidays, I would buy comics at the comic stall in Yorkshire, and then when I traveled to school, I would sell them at a comic shop in London, and supplement my income. I did buy and sell some pretty impressive, looking back.
I remember you told me that you sold some really big books. What was the big one
The big one was a Spider-Man #1, which I think I bought for 5 pence and I sold for £10. So at the time, I was absolutely over the moon,
Yeah, I actually think that's probably the highest return on investment you can get. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and there was no time, it wasn't years later. It was,
yeah,
a month or two later. So at the time, I was absolutely thrilled with that. In retrospect, would I have liked to have still got my Amazing Spider-Man #1 that I bought? Yes, I would. And since then, I've had periods of being interested in comics and periods of not. So university, I was more into Dungeons and Dragons. Then I sort of found women, and
those things don't usually go together, that. Like, no. People that play Dungeons and Dragons don't usually find women.
Well, the women came a bit after the Dungeons and Dragons. Anyway, so then sort of my marriage ended sort of mid-90s, and I got back into comics because I was a single guy, some money to spend. So I got back into comics. and probably for about 10 years from about the 90s, so the 1990 through to 2000. I was pretty busy collecting. No, mid 80s, yeah. So so there was a period of 10-15 years where I was into comics. Then wife number two came round, then children came round, and that was it for comics.
Yeah, children kill comic collecting
Yeah,
usually.
so that was it for comics for about 18 years. So between about 2000, 2018, no comics. And then I retired a couple of years ago. COVID came along, and I suddenly thought, I've got all those comics in the attic. Let's get them down and have a look at them. And then I got back into comics again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a hard habit to kick, I think. So what?
I actually made the decision to move because I've got a reasonable pension pot, and I made the decision to move a part of my pension pot out of stocks and shares into comics, just as a portfolio diversification.
So actually, I'm going to do the questions out of order in this one because you're just sort of bringing me onto the third question that I normally ask. Is what are you hunting? What are you using that pension money to hunt for?
Okay, so I mean, there's a few collections that I go for. So if you've watched my channel, you know I like Alan Class comics, the pre-decimalization ones. So the big comic that I'm currently missing is you may have seen my channel recently. I had a fantastic pickup of some really
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was amazing.
unbelievable. That I cannot understand how he got those comics in that condition. You never see them like that. I almost think he worked at the printing works and must have got them straight off the printing press. Anyway, so the one I'm missing on Creepy Worlds is number 2. I know.
So it's one of those ghost ones, yeah.
Ghost one. I know a number of Alan Class collectors. I know a couple of people who've got it, but I know a couple of collectors like myself who haven't got it. So Creepy World's number 2. It's actually rarer, I think, than Creepy World's number 1. Also, you will know, well, you do know, I'm a big fan of UK price variants.
Yes.
So
yes.
I am putting together a nice run of early-ish Fantastic Fours as UK price variants. So currently on my hit list, I've got 2 on my hit list at the moment, and that's Fantastic Four number 11 and Fantastic Four number 12. I want to get those in pence variants. I've got 13 to 20.
Wow, that's a good run.
Yeah,
that's a really good run.
Yeah. So if I get 10 and 12, I've got 10 to 20. So I'm looking for them. I want them I want them sort of 3-out, 2-5-3-0, but I don't want a point, a 1-1 or I want a decentish grade, and I want them in a pence copy. So that's quite difficult to find.
Yeah, that's a rare combination.
yeah, that's hard. And the other one is I've got almost complete collection of Brave and the Bold. Now, so my first big collection was Brave and the Bold. It's 200 comics. And I'm missing about 4 or 5. So,
but you have the big ones, right? Yeah,
I've got some of the big. Yes, I've got the first Aquaman on a cover. So
so how about you show some of your big books?
Okay, I've got some of them here. Hang on, I'm just going to tell you the other ones because somebody might have one. So the 3 Brave and the Bolds that have been on my want list for ages, and there's not many of them. Go and look at the census. The reason I'm still on my want list is there's like 15 to 20 on the census. So it's Brave and the Bold number 4, number 6, and number 9. Okay.
Those are pretty early issues.
Very early ones, and there's only about 20 on the census, and I'm looking for a decentish grade. So I want a 4.0 plus. So yeah, those are the things I'm currently looking for. They're all quite difficult. But
I'm not even sure what those issues would have on them.
I think they're Robin Hood.
Are they Batman and
no, there's no. It's all. I'm going to show you one of my. So I've got a pile of comics here. You asked me to bring some of my favorite.
Yeah, show some stuff. Yeah.
So this one links to that. Here's one of my favorite comics. It's Brave and the Bold number 1 in a 4.0.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, that's right. They did a lot of these kind of like knights.
The Golden Gladiator.
Yeah, classic stories kind of idea. Yeah.
And Robin Hood comes in as well.
Yeah, I remember seeing those. Yeah, now I remember.
So the problem with these is that, in this sort of grade 4.0, this is quite a high grade for this.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just very rare. They just
So what Brave and the Bold is that? That's number 3? Number 1. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Brave
I
and the Bold.
imagine that's a pretty pricey book.
It's pretty pricey. It's around $1,000, I think.
Wow.
But it's quite rare. You won't
Yeah.
find there's not many of these on the census. They just don't come up because people who get them just keep them in their collection, and they don't come up when the person dies or something. And so 3, 4, 6, and 9 I'm missing. I just always have them on a search, and they just never come up. If one comes up, it's about one every 2 years, and then somebody else nabs it because there's collectors like me who want the same ones.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Also, I've got some other ones here which I'll just show you. So, Brave and the Bold was my first sort of collecting item. I'm going to show this one because it's topical at the moment. So, my favorite comic series of all time, Alan and I were just talking about this before the show began, is the Sandman. Sandman, 1989 through to 1996, I think, 75 issues. I bought all of them new from my local comic shop. Every week they came out, and I read them as they came out. That's the only series I've ever done that with over such a long run. So they all of the copies that I've got of the Sandman, I've got full 1 to 75, got double copies of some of them that I bought 2 copies at the time. So here we go. Here's my next favorite comic. It's Sandman number 1, bought from you at the comic shop, local comic shop in Peterborough in 1989. I actually bought 2 copies. Obviously,
You're forward thinking.
I was forward thinking. They have sat in the attic for about 30 years before they've been worth anything, but there you go. So yeah. So that's the Sandman. All right. Another big favorite of mine was Alan Moore. Alan Moore did a long run on Swamp Thing. Okay. And that drew
considered me. The best part of Swamp Thing is Alan Moore.
Yes. So I was very into the Alan Moore Swamp Thing, but that drew me. I then got looking at Swamp Thing, the first 10 copies of Swamp Thing 1 to 10, with artwork by Bernie Wrightson. And I have to say, they still remain for me. If you look at the overall cover artwork, those first 10 issues of Swamp Thing,
brilliant. Yeah,
that's the best cover artwork consistently over a number of issues. And I was lucky. I have 2 copies of this in the slab in an 8.0, but one of them is signed by Len Wein. So I picked this up about 6 months ago at a Whatnot auction. So I've actually got 2 copies of this. So I'll probably do a trade for one of these as well. But this one is signed by Len Wein. Swamp Thing number 1 in an 8.0. But yeah, one of my favorite all-time series of covers. I'm going to keep going until I've got another 3 to show. So the next thing I want to talk about is so I'm a big collector of Alan Class. So an Alan Class, I picked this up about a month or so ago. It's Alan Class's Creepy Worlds number 32, which reprinted the first Fantastic Four, probably only a year or 2 after the original.
So is that actually before the Golden Record reprint?
It's pretty close. So of course, Fantastic Four number 1 was 62. I think this is 64. I'm not sure when the Golden Records reprint.
I think the Golden Record reprint 63, if I remember correctly.
That's earlier.
Yeah.
So, but it's pretty close to it.
Yeah.
So yeah. So very happy with that because I'll never own a Fantastic Four number 1 in a 4.5.
Yeah, pretty expensive book.
Right, which brings us on to another Fantastic Four, which I just love to bits. Fantastic Four 48.
Oh yeah.
I'm a big Fantastic Four fan. I've brought it's in a 5.0. I've actually got a 49 raw, which I think is a 7.0.
Nice.
Yeah. So I will get that graded when CGC sort themselves out. And then lastly, just the most expensive comic I personally have bought. I know this is nothing in the Alan realm, but for me, I bought this and it cost me about £2,000. It's
Wow, but that's worth more than £2,000 now.
worth a lot more. Yeah, it's worth a lot more.
Cool.
I mean, at the time it was painful. I thought £2,000 for a comic. Yeah, but worth a lot more now. I don't know what. I think if I sent this to Heritage, this is. I've never seen one of these. It's actually quadruple signed by Stanley, Jim Starlin, Joe Sinnott, and Mike Friedrich. It's one of a kind. I've never seen a signed one.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And those are like each of those signatures are valuable. So, it's like that's a good slab. So yeah, so I mean I think that would be, I'm gonna guess 15 to 20,000 for that.
I would hope if I did it through Heritage or somewhere like that, because it's so unique.
Yeah.
And if I timed it right, with some sort of movie event, maybe the Guardians of the Galaxy film, because it's got the first appearance of what's his name, Eros,
Star Fox, Drax as well. Yeah, the Blood Brothers. Yeah. So yeah, great book. Yeah, that's way more impressive than my copy of that book. Mine's like a 4 or 5 or something. So yeah, so that's really cool. I'm gonna wrap it up, but with one last question. Other than my show that you also appear on every Monday, so every Monday you can see me talking with Mark. And what else? What do you have that you're working on or doing? Where can people find you?
Okay, so you can find me at on my YouTube channel. Just type in Mark Oldroyd into YouTube, and up I will pop. Quite a lot of videos I've done now. So yeah, and I post probably on average 3. I'm not as good as Alan. I don't do one daily. So probably 3 or 4 times a week usually. Unboxing videos. I do some reviews. I have done some interviews. I've got the show I do with Alan, yourself on a Monday. Whatever just strikes my fancy. If I get excited about, I have done one about how awful CGC are. It depends what strikes me and what gets me excited. So yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna link to your channel in the description. So if you're interested in checking out Mark, click the link in the description. You can see his stuff. And yeah, it was great to have you on the show. So thanks everyone for watching, and bye for now.
Yeah, and I look forward to seeing you climb up the ladder. So you end up with people with more viewers than you have, rather than viewers.
I actually don't see it as a ladder. I see it as one of those Mobius strips.
Oh, okay.
And you'll be at the top again. So
Good answer. See you, Alan.
Goodbye.